Welcome to the Betty Rocker Show, the place to be to nourish your mind, love your body, and rock your life. Welcome back, rock stars. Coach Betty Rocker here, and I'm so excited about today's episode because I get to answer questions that you have sent me. I'm answering stuff today like, how to stay consistent when you're just not feeling motivated, staying fit when you're a busy parent, dealing with unsupportive people in your life, all about cellulite, and so much more. And I really hope the answers will give you some great insights and support you in your journey. So be sure to get your pen and paper out and take some notes in case you have some follow-up questions for me. So the first topic that I'm going to dive into today is around consistency. This is something that so many of us struggle with. And the first question is from Jen Catalier. She's 34 from Winnipeg, Manitoba in Canada. Jen writes to say, I've been following you for a while now and just recently joined Rock Your Life. Woohoo, Jen! She purchased the 30-day challenge meal plan. I could go on and on about my struggles, but I think I'm realizing that my biggest struggle is sticking with something, following through with my plans, and seeing them all the way to the end. So I guess my question for you is, how do I get past my excuses for allowing myself to eat something I shouldn't or skip my workout and just do what I've set out to do? Thanks. So great question, Jen. And I'm sure so many people can relate to that. We start out a plan, you know how New Year's comes around and we're like, okay, I am so going to do this 8-week program, or I am so going to stick to my healthy eating. And then, maybe a week or 2 weeks into it, we're making excuses, we're falling off track, and it just becomes really challenging to stick to it. So a couple of thoughts, if this is something that you're currently struggling with or something that you have struggled with. One is we have to give ourselves grace. We have to really, I think sometimes we create too rigid of an expectation for ourselves where we feel like we have to do all of these things. It's that all or nothing mentality. And we feel like if we deviate from that, we're a failure. And I know you're not a failure. It's okay to fall off track and get back on track again, even if it takes you a little while. Life happens. It's first and foremost, just remember that it's all or something, not all or nothing. And that really, truly being consistent isn't about getting all the steps right or doing every workout every single day or eating perfectly every single day. It's not. It's an overall, more general consistency that really adds up to the big results. So maybe taking some of the pressure off yourself to do it perfectly can be one big step in the right direction. And then the second piece of this is, I think we have to really define why we've chosen to achieve a goal in the first place. And I think sometimes our goals are a little on shaky ground. If our primary objective, especially with health and fitness goals, is to, drop a certain number of pounds so we can look a certain way in a certain outfit, well, that might be enough to motivate you, but it might not be enough to motivate you every single day. I find, and I've found for myself, that when I shifted my why, my ability to follow through really changed. What used to really stick me up was that exact sort of thing. I was constantly struggling to look a certain way, and that was really stressful. And stress is really damaging to your system, to your nervous system, and to your ability to actually reach those types of goals, to reach a fitness goal, because it does elevate cortisol. It can make us more prone to store body fat, and it's just damaging to our whole system. And what I found was that if I was constantly just worrying about my appearance and so focused on the external, and that was the reason behind my goal, I would fall off track pretty consistently. And what shifted for me was starting to recognize that I wanted to understand the way my body worked and functioned. And I started to make friends with my body. And this is something that I'm going to touch on in some of our other questions, but I just think it's super, super important to look outside of your goal for some of the knowledge and information about how your body actually works and some of the ways that you are taking care of it, so that there's more of a reason behind why you're training and more information about, how does hypertrophy work? How is it that I'm actually growing muscle? How does this resistance training stuff actually affect me? Do I need more sleep right now since I'm training more? What are the ways that stress is actually affecting me while I'm working towards my goal? How does my nutrition actually affect my gut health? Do I need a probiotic? Do I need to be drinking more water? I think just getting curious and asking these questions and starting to really understand the mechanisms by which your body does some of its functions can help you form a deeper why that's about loving yourself and about showing up and being a great role model to the people around you. And there's nothing wrong with part of your goal being about looking good. It's great to take pride in our appearance. I think that's it's a great goal, taking care of our bodies, taking care of our health. But when it's only about our appearance, I think we can more easily fall off track because our why isn't it's not deeply rooted enough in our soul for us to really feel like it's important enough. So really get clear on your why. Really get clear on the reasons that you want to be fitter. There's always something behind that, and don't be afraid to examine your own, your heart around your your ego and your heart when it comes to how you are looking at yourself. Are you judging yourself? Are you being really hard on yourself? The journey of being healthy, it's an everyday practice, right? It's not, and that's why I say you have to have that all or something mentality. You can't have that all or nothing approach, because if you slip up one day, you're going to be beating yourself up. And if your goal isn't clearly defined, if you don't have a really deep why you're doing this, you're going to beat yourself up a lot harder, because you're going to look at your butt, or you're going to look at your cellulite, or you're going to look at your whatever on your body that you feel isn't measuring up. And that is going to feel like a major failure. And if you have a deeper why, you're going to recognize that, working towards a goal is admirable, and you are not a failure if you fall off track, because your value is about your effort that you put in. It's about your intention. It's about your integrity. It's not about how you look alone. So those are really like my biggest tips when it comes to staying consistent. I think it's just adopting that all or something approach to your fitness, and also really examining why you want to be healthy and fit in the first place. And I think that is really, really, really important. So my second question is from Zoe Ware. She's 30 and she lives in South Australia. What's up, girl? I have just started full time and I'm finding it so hard to fit in exercise. When I'm home, I get mummy guilt. So my question is, how can I fit it in, and what type of exercise will give me the best result in my home when I can't get outside for a run? So props to you, Zoe, for getting back to work again full time as a mom. I know that's a lot to juggle. Energetically speaking, you've got a lot of demands on your time, and I really commend you for being so focused on your health and your fitness. And it sounds like you used to be a runner. That's great. And you're struggling because you can't necessarily get outside for runs. So you don't say here how old your kids are, or if you have more than one. But one of the reasons that I created the Make Fat Cry 30-day challenge and quite an extensive workout library of home workouts is for this very reason. I think that fitting in a workout at home is such a great thing to be able to do, because not only are you able to do it pretty much anywhere, wearing pretty much anything, your kids can be around when you're doing it. And if you're doing a consistent 15-minute routine multiple days a week that is varied, you will you will feel great, and you will find that you can fit in maybe even a couple of sessions a day if you are able to. And it's really just having the mentality of like, this is possible. I'm doing this. Maybe the kids are taking a quick nap. Maybe you are, doing something, have everybody down, we're watching a show or we're watching a movie, and you're doing your Stop, Drop, and Betty Rock workout. So I really encourage you to look at the free workouts on the bettyrocker.com blog, because there are so many home workouts that you can try. Everything's listed by category on the blog in the workout section. And also, if you haven't already taken my free Make Fat Cry 30-day challenge, where I send you a 15-minute workout video each day, I definitely recommend you do that. It's makefatcrychallenge.com. And all of these links will be posted in the show notes for you guys as well. So be sure to use those. Also, Erin wrote me. Erin is 42. I am from Pleasant Hill, California. My big struggle is finding time to get a workout in. I have 2 kids under age 4 and work full time. I also struggle with cellulite on my legs. I don't need to lose weight. I just want to make the cellulite less noticeable. So again, Erin, I'm giving you the same advice as I gave to Zoe as far as getting those workouts in from home. And I want to just talk a little bit about resistance training here. So when it comes to cellulite, there are a lot of reasons why we will see it. I have cellulite, and it fluctuates throughout the month how much I see. One of the biggest culprits in cellulite, of course, is sitting. If you notice, quite often the most common area to see cellulite are the areas where we sit a lot of the time. And one of the main reasons for this is because our connective tissue gets really bound up and gets really sticky with the underlying layers of muscle and fat, and we'll see more of the rippling effect. So a couple of things that can help with that, of course, are being super hydrated, moving more regularly. So setting timers on your phone to get up and move. This is great for your energy as well, great for your overall cardiovascular health, great for your health in general, and it will help diminish the appearance of cellulite if you're moving more regularly, if you're circulating your lymph fluid more regularly, if you're just circulating your blood more regularly. This is really, really important. I work from home myself. I'm sitting a lot. I will often sit on the floor and transition to sitting at my desk, and I just move around a lot. I also set a 90-minute timer on my phone so that I remember to get up and move on a regular basis. Even if I just do 10 to 20 body squats and a couple of push-ups, it just makes me feel energized. I get a quick hit of energy. And so moving forward from that, other reasons why we get cellulite, of course, are that our fat cells are actually where we store toxins from what we eat, from our environment. A body packages up toxins in our fat cells. And that's a really important thing to know and to start to work on losing body fat, but you'll see cellulite even if you have a low body fat sometimes. And so I recommend good gut health support, eating fermented foods, soaking, sprouting, or fermenting your grains, making sure that you're not eating processed foods, refined sugar. There's a lot of chemical byproducts in the foods that we eat that can contribute to body fat storage, and the toxic elements in some of the foods that we eat, which are just non-nutritive substances or things that are actually carcinogens or harmful to our system, also get packaged up in your fat cells. So just really helping your body minimize fat storage is a really important thing to do, and also can help. So of course, eating healthy foods can really help reduce cellulite. So eating healthy whole foods and eating regularly, eating when you're hungry and stopping eating when you're full, which is actually very easy to do when you're eating whole foods. Your body knows when it's full and when it's hungry based on either nutrient density in your stomach or volume. And so this is why you could eat like 2 bags of Oreos and not know you're full until your stomach is literally at capacity. The volume is so full, right? Whereas if you eat like sweet potato, maybe a grass-fed burger or some pesto, a little bit of avocado, you'd feel full much faster, even though it was a smaller amount of food, because the nutrient density is so great in those foods that your body knows it's full. So being really mindful of eating your whole foods and not eating processed foods will really help with the cellulite. Also staying super hydrated, supporting your microbiome, supporting your gut health, pre and probiotic rich foods, like I was talking about with the fermented foods, really important. Green bananas are a great source of prebiotic fiber, which, is what helps your microbiome be really healthy and have a diverse flora and fauna. And you really want to make sure that you're just really making your choices from these whole foods and drinking a lot of water. Fiber-rich foods, water, all these things will help really keep your digestion healthy and flowing and help you reduce the amount of fat that you have. When you combine that with regular exercise, you're really getting all of the benefits. And getting up and moving, if you're sitting a lot, is super, super important. Stretching can be great. You can use a foam roller. You can use something called a fascia blaster, which helps blast they call it a fascia blaster because it helps to actually, it lengthens the connective tissue I was talking about at the beginning of this, the fascia layer that gets stuck and bound up. It actually helps to smooth that out and helps to reduce some of the appearance of cellulite, but you do need to do it pretty regularly. And I've seen it be effective, but it does cause a lot of bruising. But it's a cool tool. But some of these other ways of dealing with cellulite are also super, super important. And another thing that I was going to talk about, Erin, was resistance training. The more muscle that you carry, the more muscle that you have on your body, the more calories you burn at rest, even more than when you're, as opposed to fat. So you're able to be a more efficient fat burner when you have more muscle on your body. And one of the best ways to build muscle is to do resistance training combined with healthy eating, nutrient-dense foods. So resistance training is anything where you are using force against, your body. You could either do this with gravity. Push-ups are a form of resistance training where you're using gravity against your own body weight. Using free weights are resistance training. Bands are resistance training. Machines at the gym are resistance training. So being able to utilize that aspect is really helpful of training. So all of the programs that I write combine resistance training with explosive cardio, which is another great way to really help burn body fat. Cellulite isn't necessarily tied to excess body fat, though. Like I was saying, even people who don't have a lot of extra body fat can carry cellulite. So using resistance training to help build muscle can help reduce the appearance of cellulite because you start to develop more muscle in those areas and you won't see as much cellulite. So those are some of the tips that I have for you. And I really recommend following a program that does have resistance training written into it. And body weight training can absolutely be resistance training, especially when it's done creatively with functional movements. You'll find a lot of single leg movements, a combination of progressions in my workout programs where you'll be able to incorporate resistance training with explosive cardio and really get the best bang for your buck. So that's really recommended. And check out my workouts on the blog for how I do that. And check out all of the different aspects of training that I teach on thebettyrocker.com. So this brings me to another great question. We have a lot of people in our lives who make a big difference to how successful we are, right? We are the one that has to be the one who is the most biggest champion of ourselves. We really do. But we are so influenced by the energy of family members, friends, the people we choose to have around us in our lives. So this question really is an important one. Catherine, 34, Emaus, Pennsylvania. How to be a supporter for exercise, healthy eating, and myself when I have an unsupportive spouse. He has stated he is jealous of how motivated I am on bettering myself, but then turns around and thinks I'm becoming too buff and this or that, and does not support me on what I want or how I want to live my life. Whew. That is really hard to hear, isn't it? I just want to send you so much love, Catherine, because your goals are similar to mine, and and so many people listening. And I think that you have a tremendous amount of support from the Betty Rocker community. But when you don't have support from your own partner at home, that is incredibly rough. And it's just really sad. And I just want to give you some of my own insights about this type of thing. When people are reacting to us, it's often because they are really triggered by something that's not actually about you. It's often about something in themselves that they may not even be aware of. It's some fear that they have that's, they're projecting onto you. And I know that it's a tough thing to practice when someone is being unkind or unsupportive, but it can be really helpful to just stop and think about what the root cause of that behavior is and just have compassionate thoughts towards them and why they're doing that. And I know that's really hard. It's like that's the mental weightlifting that's sometimes the hardest to do because, it's very damaging to our sense of self when people that we love are so negative to us. But one of the great lessons in life is to begin to remove our attachment to the judgments and feelings of other people. And to do this, we have to sort of start to rise beyond our ego, which is so easily damaged. I like to think about the ego as sort of like this 5-year-old child, very needy, needs to be praised, needs to be petted, needs to be loved. And this is often where people get wounded, is this little 5-year-old child self that needs love, needs to feel safe, needs to feel secure. And I would suspect that this man who is so triggered by you being healthy and fit is in some way feeling less of who he is. In some way, he's identified himself as a man who has a partner who is a certain thing, and you're not living up to that expectation. So this could be a really powerful opportunity in your relationship for the two of you to do some work together and get deep on what it is that being in a partnership really means to each of you and what your expectations are of each other as a spouse. And create a safe space for that if possible, so that you can both voice your thoughts and so that you can each both hear yourselves, because that awareness will help deepen your understanding and compassion for each other and also for yourself. We're all on this journey, and you have chosen this partner. We all choose partners. Sometimes we go through relationships because the partner, it ended up not being a good partner for us. And I remember back to many relationships I've had where I've had what I'd call bad partners, but a lot of it was I was a bad partner to myself. And I attracted those relationships because they were really mirroring the way that I saw myself. And I had to get really clear on what it was that I was about and what I wanted for me to attract more positive relationships into myself, not only romantic, like friendships as well. And I would say that this particular situation is something where I would recommend using a professional to help talk to both of you, to create a mediated space where you're both able to voice your feelings, if that's an option for you. It's just, for a healthy relationship, we have to develop awareness of ourselves. We have to take responsibility for our own behavior, and we have to be willing to grow together as people or grow apart. And, it may be the case that your spouse has just never had the opportunity to really dig deep into what is causing those feelings about a woman that's too buff. That's a really common kind of conception people have. I hear it from women too, like that they don't want to be too buff and that they don't want to build muscle because they're afraid of getting too bulky. And there is certainly a perception of attractiveness that is measured by our appearance. It's obvious, but like how you choose to practice fitness and what makes you feel healthy and what makes you feel good, that's your own personal choice. And you deserve to be supported and loved, and you have to love and support yourself first and foremost. And, if you and your partner got together when health and fitness wasn't a part of your lifestyle, it's possible that that's not something that they prioritize in their life or that they value in their life. And if you're going to find a way to connect about that, or at the very least, accept each other's goals and priorities, there's got to be some kind of a connection and a communication around that, and a little bit deeper of a dive into why these things are so triggering for your spouse. And potentially, just really having an open heart and an open mind to his struggles and what it is that's really going on inside for him could be really potentially healing for both of you. So I'm sure that our readers and our listeners are going to have some great thoughts and comments about this topic for you. So be sure to check out the show notes and the comments section for that. I really appreciate everybody's input on all of these questions. Okay, so I'm going to move on to another really difficult topic. This is really a lot around the relationship that we have about ourselves and our bodies. And I feel like this is kind of the segue from what we were just talking about when someone isn't supporting us. What about when we're not supporting ourselves? I got a question from Jamie. She's 22 and she's from Minnesota. She writes to say, "My biggest struggle right now is working out for the right reasons. I have an unhealthy relationship with food and my body, and I find myself using exercise as a way to counter or punish myself for eating bad or binging on food. Some days I'm working out excessively and I'm exhausted. I know this isn't good for me physically or mentally, but how do I overcome this toxic cycle? How do I take care of myself and start to love my body?" It's amazing that Jamie, you're so close. Like, it's like you're right up next to the answer, like you're so on top of it. That the answer is love for yourself, but how do we get there? That's the big question, right? I think what I wanted to invite you to do, Jamie, was to try an experiment for just 1 week where you take your focus off of your appearance. And I think that a lot of this behavior that I'm hearing about is that you're really focused on how you look and the binging on food and the exercise. And there's just like this complete cycle that's going on. And it's really around the value that you have in yourself, and your deep why right now is about your worth as a person is based somehow on your appearance and your performance around your appearance. So I would counsel you to look at how food and exercise actually work at a physiological level. I would like for you to read some articles about all of the different cellular functions that happen in your body. I'd like you to read about all of the different systems in your body that make it up: your respiratory system, your circulatory system, your immune system. I want you, your skeletal, your muscular, all of the different body systems that you have. Start to get curious about these systems. Your body is this amazing organism made up of all these cells. And your cells each have inside of them specialized organelles like your mitochondria, which create energy for you. And they're all dedicated to you. Every single cell in your body is dedicated to the purpose of you thriving. And your cells love you. They are working like little factory workers around the clock to help you thrive, to take care of you, and to give you energy and to help you perform everything that you do. And I think if you can just sort of start to get inside your body and start to see this incredible vessel that you have, this vessel of awesomeness, this beautiful, beautiful mechanism that you have of your body and all that it does for you, as something that loves you, it's a lot easier to love your body back because it's a reciprocal relationship. Like your body is showing you love by giving you enough energy to do those crazy workouts. Your body is showing you love by processing and digesting the nutrients in the foods you eat. And so what happens when you pack yourself full of junk food is your body has to go into hyperdrive. It's like it's already working around the clock in shifts, like 24-hour shifts, and then you ask it to do more by giving it sugar, by giving it junk food. You ask it to do more by doing like way more workouts than you can even handle, and that's why you feel exhausted, and that's why you feel awful and bloated after you stuff yourself. And I think that it's it's really telling that you talk about punishing yourself with exercise. And I feel you there. It's really easy to get into that cycle where we think that our food input is somehow minimized by the exercise output that we do. But it's not as simple as calories in versus calories out. Just because your phone app tells you that you burned 200 calories, that doesn't mean that you can eat 200 calories and that your baseline is going to be the same. I know it feels like that, but it's just not the case, because a lot of these calculations are inaccurate. For one, we've got calculators that are really overestimating how many calories we've burned when we're doing a workout. And our food calculators are also complete estimates. Did you know that the calories on your food labels on your food are estimates? To measure an actual calorie in a food, they have to do this whole thermal heat removal bomb calorimeter device where they measure the thermic effect of food and they come up with a number. And so most of the foods out there are estimated calories. So we've got an estimated calorie number. Then you're going to an online app and putting in your weight, your height, and activity level, which is subjective, and you're guessing how much your BMI is, right? Or your BMR is. And you're using these numbers to calculate what your daily calorie intake should be. And we cling to these numbers as if they're like the holy grail of how we're going to get fit. And it's just that these numbers are actually like within a range of inaccuracy. Like they're non-specific, like they're estimates. So say that the calories that you've told yourself that you could eat is about 10 to 20% inaccurate. And then the calories on the food label is between 10 to 20% inaccurate. You've got between a 20 and 40% inaccurate data point of what you're even starting out with for telling yourself how much you should eat. And then not only that, when you eat, your body is not necessarily how much of those calories, how much of those nutrients is your body actually absorbing and able to use? Well, that depends a lot on your state of health, on your hormone balance, on your stress levels, on how well your gut microbiome is processing all of those foods, on how well your body's able to uptake those nutrients. And so you can't just, and then on the other end, we've got how much we're exercising. Is that actually accurate in how much we are burning off? So there's just all of this inaccuracy and all of this obsession around how much we're eating, how much we're exercising, and it becomes this crazy loop that we can get really stuck in to our complete detriment, where we forget about everything else in life that matters to us, why we're even here, what we care about, who we care about. It's a very selfish, very self-focused, obsessive sort of way of looking at food and our bodies and exercise. And there is so much more that's possible, so much more that's available to you as a person. And when you look at yourself with love and you start to have that conversation with these cells and organelles and systems in your body that are supporting you all the time, all of these amazing hormones that are signaling all of your organs and all of your body systems on what to do when. It's this beautifully orchestrated system that's just amazing and miraculous. You have truly a vessel of awesomeness. Just getting curious about how that all works and starting to integrate some of that information into your day and starting to just notice, when am I hungry? When am I full once I've started eating? When I move, how am I actually present to the experience I'm having in my body? Does this feel good? Am I enjoying myself? And if you're not, try mixing up the workouts you're doing. Try working out outside. Exercising outside is an amazing way to get some of the vitamin D production in your body that so many of us are deficient in, and just gives us that infusion of just kind of like badassery, right? Like we're outside, we're working out, like we're moving our body in a primal way outdoors, feeling the grass under your feet, grounding down. If you're barefoot, even better, getting that good grounding effect that can help decrease a lot of the electromagnetic frequencies that get stuck in your body and that kind of pollution that our body holds on to. So really just starting to think about some of the different ways that you can look at your body with different eyes. Look at what's happening below the surface and look at the ways that you are talking to your body. I often say that the way that we eat and the way that we train is kind of a communication that we're having with our body, and the way that we look and feel specifically is the communication that your body is having back to you. You're in a two-way conversation with your body all the time. And, it's really important to just kind of notice what that conversation is. And this is what you did here so well, Jamie. You're noticing it and you're saying, help, I'm throwing out a lifeline. I don't know how to get myself out of this rut. I'm stuck. And this is how. It's just starting to think about your body in a different way, just taking those small steps forward and thinking about what would nourish you right now. What would make you feel good? How can you love yourself? How can you love your body? How can you show appreciation to your body today? And it might be resting. It might be having a rest day. It might be having a healthy home cooked meal. And this is what really got me into food prepping and cooking, was because I started to really notice that I had been treating myself so badly for so long. I had deep set addictions. I had self-loathing. I was overtraining. I think why, Jamie, I feel, so connected to you in this question and why I had so much to say is because this was, I was constantly beating myself up for my perceived imperfections, how I looked. I never liked I hated my cellulite. I thought my nose was crooked. I didn't think I measured up. My stomach wasn't flat. I could never lose the belly flab. I was just struggling all the time. And I had to really come to terms with the fact that a lot of that came from me just being way too worried about my appearance, and a lot of the value that I had in myself as a person and my worth as a person came from, really thinking that it was all about how I looked. And that was, from a deeper place, that a lot of that, came from feeling like, sexually objectified since I was a young child in a lot of ways, and growing up around messaging that was all about like, well, you need to be a pretty girl, or you need to be a smart girl. You have to be at least one of those things, or you won't catch a husband. And like, there's sort of this like subliminal messaging that a lot of us are exposed to constantly, where our bodies are objectified. They're used to sell things. We objectify ourselves in this way. And I mean, it's like this constant pressure to look a certain way. So there's no one blaming you or me or judging us for the fact that we struggled with these things. But what we have to do now is to take responsibility for the fact that we have had these sort of frameworks around our bodies and around our worthiness, and to take charge of that, to decide to change the framework that we see ourselves through, and to take action towards reaching our goals for being healthy and living a long, healthy life in a fit body that we're loving by, learning more about how our body works, by learning to care for our body, by learning about the functions and the mechanisms by which it works. And that's why, even in the very first book that I wrote, The Body Fuel System, I wrote about all of the different nutrients and how they interact in the body and how they benefit us, because I was just so hungry to share the information that had really flipped the switch for me, that had really made me start to love my body and all that it was capable of. And I wanted to support it. Like, I just kind of fell in love with my body. And I struggle still. I have my ups and downs, and it's not like it's a one-shot wonder or a super quick fix. These things take time. Learning to notice when we're being negative to ourselves, that internal dialogue, when it's detrimental to ourselves, when we're beating ourselves up, getting a handle on that. I used to always wear a rubber band around my wrist and snap it every time that I would think something negative to myself, because I started to develop awareness that was really damaging. And then starting to cook for myself more, and starting to have a more balanced approach to working out. And that's what you'll find in all of the workout plans that I have, is this very balanced approach to exercise with rest days built in. And here's the thing, once you learn to listen to your body, once you learn to notice when you're full and when you're hungry and when you have more energy for a killer workout, and when to listen to how to pace yourself in your workout, it's just more fun. You can decide that you want to do another workout today, but you're not doing it because you ate too much food, right? And when you're choosing foods from whole foods, which happens when you start to care about what you're putting into your body a lot more, you won't have that much need to be feeling like you need to go do 10 extra workouts this week because you overate your calories. I think there is this balance in life where we have to just find ways to enjoy life as well as stay healthy and fit and live a long life. And these are all just really important aspects of the big picture, right? So I have a lot more to say on that, and I have people who ask me these types of questions all the time, and I'm sure I will get into more of that in future episodes of Q&As, but I hope that this was helpful, and I look forward to your comments in the show notes for today's episode. And thank you so much for listening today and for all the amazing questions that you send me. You can find all the resources from today's show over on the show notes page at thebettyrocker.com/podcast, where you can also submit more questions for me to answer in future episodes. It's so great to connect with you, and I sincerely appreciate the reviews you've been leaving for me on the podcast. I read every single one. Speaking of future episodes, stay tuned because next week's topic is all about self-love and taking responsibility for the way we tell our story. I'll be inviting world-renowned speaker and author Sarah Prout to join me in an intimate conversation about her inspiring journey from living on welfare in an abusive relationship with little ones she was desperate to protect to creating the life of her dreams. Not only how she got there, but the practices she lives by daily now that make her life so incredibly meaningful. You won't want to miss this episode. Until next time, Rockstar, I am Betty Rocker, and you are so awesome and amazing. I'll talk to you again real soon.
This podcast is for information purposes only. Statements and views expressed on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Brie Argetsinger, Betty Rocker Inc., and the producers disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guest qualifications or credibility. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. Before starting a new exercise, fitness, or health protocol, or if you think you have a medical problem, always consult a licensed physician.